So, to start off, tell us where you're from and how you got started.
Well, I originally am from California, Northern California, but I am currently living in Omaha, Nebraska. And I got started only about 3 years ago. I was a very late person as far as investigations go, and it was simply because I never, at the time, had an interest in doing it or anything else. But I have friends who are part of an investigation team, and they invited me to come along, and so we went along. My wife and I went along with them. And while I was there in the first handful of minutes, I was actually able to see a full apparition walk in, and I was able to see her, hear her, and talk to her. So I realized that I had abilities as well. So it all kind of happened all at once.
Very cool.
Yeah, 3 years for me too.
How often did you hear? How often did this happen?
It happens regularly now. It's something that I deal with daily. That's normal, and I'm comfortable with it. Um, so it's just something that kind of took place. Like I said, at first I wasn't sure if it was going to stay with me or not, or how it was going to go. But I was working. I was actually on a team that my friend was on. They actually had two mediums with them, and they were kind of. It was an overnight, so we were actually there for the entire weekend.
Nice.
And as the weekend kept going on, I kept saying things, and they're like, "Well, that's what we're getting. How are you picking that up?" I'm like, "I don't know. You tell me. I'm the one who's new here."
Right.
So it kind of just kept that way, and ever since then, it's just kind of become a regular part of my life.
Awesome. So speaking of that, what is one of your favorite locations that you like to investigate?
One of the ones is actually close to me here, and it's called Malvern Manor. It's right across about 20 minutes to half an hour away from me. And it used to be a lot of different things. It used to be a hospital, it used to be an asylum, place for taking in like refugees or whatever else. And it's just kind of mostly it was known as an old person's home, but they also did have a psychiatric ward in there and everything else. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth most of the time, since it is so close, and it's pretty prevalent as far as activity goes, regardless of when you go. And it does have its own personalities between daytime and nighttime.
Huh. Interesting.
Very interesting. So let's see, what what kind of equipment do you guys use?
It depends on who I'm with. Right now, it's just my wife and I split off into our own group, and we have just a couple of the basics. We have smaller items, like we did get a Chattergeist, but we do have like the cat balls, and we have a SB7 and a couple of other things. But most of the times, we're only using those to confirm what I'm picking up, one way or the other. Use like just a simple video camera, still camera, as well as recorders, just the kind of the standard.
Do you guys use REM pods or other kind of
We do
meters?
not. The only thing that we really have towards that is, like I said, the cat balls, and our Chattergeist will also light up. We do have, I lied. We do have one that is kind of an EMP of a sort, where it picks up movement around us. It's just one. It's new to the group of toys we. So I'm not comfortable with it yet. I'm still learning with it. We used to use an SLS camera, but we kind of fell off using that one for a while, mostly because it's bulky and harder to carry around when you're trying to go to place.
Right. How many members are in your team?
Right now, there's only me and my wife. Beforehand, there were 7 of us in the team I was on when I started, and then we branched off and went to our own team. But now we're starting to investigate with other teams to see how they react and how they do their stuff, and it gives us a good idea to see what we can bring to them and what we can pick up from them that works well that we may be able to use on our own.
Right.
Very nice. Let's see here. Are there any locations you want to go back to?
I was out we did a 3-location destination out in Washington, Iowa with the team called RIP, or Riverside Iowa Paranormal. And they invited us along just as guests, and we went with them. But it was a lot of people. It was basically, they sold tickets for it, and all 3 locations were being looked at the same time, and everything else. There was about 10 to 12 people per group.
Okay.
But I would like to go back to those 3 locations we went to, simply because I think the largeness of the group may have dampened what we could have picked up. I think less amount of people probably pick up more, because I just don't think they wanted to do a dog and pony show for a bunch of people who just showed up to
Right.
check out what's going on. I think just as an investigator, they'll respect that more, and they'll actually respond with us more.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, a lot of times when you have so many people at a location like that, a lot of times they get overwhelmed,
Right.
and then they stay away versus being active.
Right. Yep.
Because they get scared or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what do you like? What part? Like, are there any like disadvantages of the location that you were currently were at all? Like, were there's like what I'm saying is, were there some places, like some areas of the location that you didn't like or liked?
One of the places we went to was the oldest working theater still in the United States today, and it used to be a live stage show, and so they have the big stage up there and everything else. And now they can drop down a screen to show movies on and everything else. But that's one of the places I would want to go, because it still has the old original dressing rooms that went up the stairs along the backside that they would come out of and everything else. And I think that would have a lot of action. Just because of how old it is, and the fact that they identified it as a historical location, so nothing's going to happen to it unless there's just refurbishing. But I think that's one of the places I would want to go to, simply because it is that old time feel. And as far as any places I wouldn't want to go back to, I don't think I could ever say that. Whether there was good or bad intent there as far as activity. As far as I'm concerned, any investigation is a good investigation. Even if you get nothing, it helps you identify there's nothing. So I wouldn't rule out going somewhere, even if I didn't get anything back the first time. It could simply be because they don't know what we're there for, and they don't want to interact. So the more times you go back, if there is something there, it may become comfortable with you. And so it's going to show itself or interact in some way. And after that, you kind of build that rapport, if that makes sense, with the spirit that's there, and they'll allow you to investigate better there than when you first get there.
Do you have do you do like a walkthrough or any of that before you start an investigation?
We do. I definitely do. A lot of the teams tell you stay together, and I am definitely the one who does not follow rules very well. A lot of times I'll just go wandering, and it's because I want the feel of the area without anyone else around me. I want to know what I'm feeling, and making sure it's not contaminated by them being next to me or something else. And I also know that it works better for some, because when I am receiving message or anything is going on, or I'm feeling anything, a lot of times my abilities will overwhelm someone else. Like, they'll be like, whoa, that's just too much. I can feel it. You're giving me a headache. So a lot of times I have to dial it down, but when I dial it down, I think I lose some of my ability to do what I do. So it's a hit and miss, but I always at least do a walkthrough on my own once at some point, even if it's right when we get there, or if it's later on, everybody gets their equipment gets set up. We all do a walkthrough, kind of get the lay of the land, and then once everyone kind of settles down, I'm kind of the roamer at night. So when everyone goes to sleep, I kind of walk around, and so that's my time just to kind of be on my own with it.
Gotcha. Is there you guys do like a cleanse, or like a you know what I mean, of an area?
Are you talking about the place itself, or for us ourselves?
Like, you know, like when, in like both. Like when, like if you know, like let's say like there's something there, but do you guys do like a cleansing type thing, like at the location, or?
I don't try to. I don't try to deal or do anything to the location because it is as it is when I get there.
Mm-hmm.
The only time I have ever done a cleansing of an area or removal of anything from the area is if that's what the person is asking me to go to their home to do.
Right.
But if we're just going on investigation because we're going to investigate, I won't do anything different, like pass anyone on or do anything else, because that's not my role. But when I do leave the place, I do make sure that we let them know that, hey, thank you, appreciate it. Don't come home, stay here, and we will sage ourselves or pollow ourselves depending how strong the place is. And then once we get back to the house, we'll spray everything down out in the garage and leave it out there to let it clean out. And then we'll wash everything again. So we kind of do a little bit of everything to make sure we're covered going in and going out.
That's smart. Let's see. So what? I don't know. What other areas of the country have you investigated?
I'm pretty much, well, I take that back. I've gone out to Hawaii, and I've done some work there. There's a person who runs Hawaiian Hauntings. His name is Joe Pinohu, and he is very well known out there on the islands. And he and I are friends simply through my show. Mm-hmm. And I had to go out there for work, and I actually met up with him and a couple of the people, and they took me to other locations to where we could investigate out in basically in the jungle and the forest area and see what they were like out there. We never did a home or anything. We did a cemetery, and everything was basically an outdoor location. It was really cool. We were able to pick up quite a bit of movement. I am one who can actually see, hear, and talk to elementals as well. And so they're very active on the islands. So I was able to actually see a couple of earth elementals walk up and talk to us. And one of them actually pushed a tree over on us when it was time to leave, letting us know it was time to go. So we left.
Yeah, that's one of my hot spots. I want to actually do Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
That's one place I want to investigate. That'd be cool.
Yep, that will be. Yeah, I get out there every once in a while for work, so that's nice. I get to take the advantage of work paying for me to go out there, and then I get to go roam the countryside once I'm off work. So, yep, pretty nice.
The other states that you've gone to?
I'm not yet. I'm actually I've been kind of all around. I travel all over the place for my job. But as far as investigation, I really haven't taken it too much with me when I go to work. I am getting ready to go down. I'll be right by Camp Pendleton down in San Diego. So I may do some there because I'll be down next week. And then in about a month, I'm heading out to England, and I'm going to try to get to Stonehenge.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Have you ever wanted to broaden her, go all over the world to investigate?
We're looking at going to. My wife's a teacher, so we really don't get a chance to travel too much during the school year. So, but we are trying to get some trips together that we can go out. More of the well known, like Broadhead Manor and the Shanley Hotel. So that's a lot of the places like we would like to go and
Broadhead Manor is where we're heading.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were supposed to go to Edinburgh Manor up in Iowa, but that one fell through for us. We had something come up, and we couldn't go. But for the most part, we're willing to go as long as we have the time and the funding to get us to where we need to go. Right.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Have you ever investigated any schools or anything?
I'm trying to think if we investigated some schools. I know our team went on a couple beforehand. They went to some schools. I think we just normally investigated private residences that are still being used, or something that has had some kind of a background like a hospital or whatever else. But I don't think we've done it. We were supposed to go to one school. We were supposed to go to Farrar School, but we didn't make it that way. The team went, but we couldn't because of work.
Right.
But that's one of the places we're looking to go to, is to one of the schools. Simply because I think it would be interesting to put my wife in that situation because she's a teacher.
Right.
And she's also very strong as far as it's simple to say that you're an empath because a lot of everybody's an empath, but she's actually one of those who even students that aren't in her class, they'll come to her for help, but not only for math, but also for personal help because she just has kind of light about her, so they get drawn to her. So I think it would be interesting to put her into a school-like environment and see what interacts with her on an investigation at a school.
That's cool. Would you and your wife like to investigate with other teams sometime?
Absolutely. That's what we're looking at doing now. We did go out with the RIP. We've gone out with a couple other teams. And it's just, like I said, for us, it's since for me, it's still considered new. Like I said, I've only kind of done this about 3 years ago. And for her as well, we're willing to jump on with other teams just to see what they're like, see what their investigations are like, see what we like, what we don't like, and what seems to work the most. I'm one of those people that kind of nerds out, so I will pay attention. Like if you do and 2 other or 3 other teams do the same thing and it all works for you, that's something I'm going to take. Right. But if you guys all do something and it works for none of you, then I'm just going to set that to the side and go, well, this doesn't work for most teams, so I'm just going to set that to the side. So, and just kind of go from there. But yeah, our big thing right now is trying to investigate with other teams. I'm even starting to take some of the people from work who are interested to locations that I know that are controlled, not violent, and just kind of letting them come along and see what it's like, so they can kind of experience for themselves. Sometimes you get stuff, sometimes you don't. And I tell them, it's not what you see on TV at all. A lot of times sitting silently and waiting or doing a lot of talking and nothing back. So a lot of times this is kind of what happens.
So have you ever had any spirits converse with you, like have a conversation with you?
They have conversations with me all the time. When the spirit converses with me, I don't have a lot of people will tell you they get symbols, so they got to figure out what the symbol means or something else. They just straight up tell me, hey, I'm telling you this, tell them that. I mean, it's just straight up like a conversation like you and I are having right now. There's no second guessing what they're trying to tell me. They're telling me exactly what they want me to say or what I'm supposed to hear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does this happen on every investigation you've gone on, or
if something is there and it is interested in talking, then yes. I've learned that I have the uncanny ability also to talk to spirit from other dimensions. That was a little different. That was a little different. We found that out because I was with a couple of the mediums, and this lady came through when she was talking to me, and I was talking back, and they're like, "Who are you talking to?" And I told her who I was talking to, and they were like, "We don't sense that person at all." And she came through and told me they won't because I'm in another dimension. And then I started paying attention to how I feel it, and normally when I feel spirit, it's in my head, but when I speak to things in other dimensions, it comes across my shoulders. So it's a totally different location for me to identify where they're, so I know where kind of what dimension they're in.
Wow. So speaking of that, like, let's see here. So what other places, like, I don't know how to say this. Yeah, Marcus does most of this. I know. Let's see here. Is there any advice you would want to give to people, like if they want to start out?
I would tell people to try to get a hold of teams and ask for recommendations, simply because you do not want to start out at a place that's simply going to smack you in the face. Excuse me. Try to go somewhere else that starts you off as comfortable. some place that you can possibly get interaction, and understand that when you go to these locations, you are asking for something to interact with you. So when they do, don't be scared. You literally signed up to ask for this. This is what you're asking to do. Hey, if I want to knock and you knock, I'm not going to run out of the building because I just simply asked you to do that, and you responded, letting me know that you're willing to communicate with me.
Right.
But really, the biggest thing is making sure you're going to a location either with people who are experienced and know how to protect you, or go somewhere that is very underwhelming, very welcoming, very kind of lightweight, is what I would say. A couple places we went to were not. They were. We had a couple people get possessed on one of them, and we had to pull them out of possession. So that was a little interesting. Or they got jumped, I should say, not really possessed, but they got jumped by spirit. So we had to pull them out of that a couple of times. And luckily, I was with experienced people, so we knew how to do it. But it was something that was, if you were timid, if you were new, or if you were just scatterbrained, it was not going to work for you. That would not have been a good place.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
Have it ever happened to you?
I have never been jumped, but I was there when the people got jumped, and I was actually one that had to take the person, the spirit out of the person, and I actually trapped them in me, so I can go to them out on the ground.
Wow!
I found out I have that ability. Unfortunately, I found out about it on the fly, but I wasn't worried about it. It was something I believed I could do, so I did it. And it was something that was actually after me anyways. It just went into this person first to try to get to me. And so I said, well, come on. And so I could feel it hit the palm of my hand and go into my arm. And once it hit my shoulder, I locked it down. I wouldn't let it enter into my body. So I basically had it in my arm. And then I went outside and I pushed it into the ground, and I pushed it out actually down into the ground and removed it from the location. So that was very interesting. So that was the first time I had to do something like that.
Wow.
Have you been like, if you go shopping or anything like that, does anything come to you when you're there for anybody else? Or
yeah, I get that quite a bit. I'm very good about closing myself off when I'm out and about. Like, I don't open up at all in my own home. I just don't. But I do have basically what I call an emergency pool, or emergency ripcord if they need it. If there is something that absolutely positively needs to get out for some way, shape, or form, then I will let spirit come in and talk. And then I will decide if it's important enough for me to stop doing what I'm doing to engage that person or whatever else. But that happens if I'm out and about, I can sense them around me. And sometimes I just want to see what they're talking about. So I will open up. And then sometimes when I do that, they're like, oh, he opened. And they'll talk to me. And sometimes I do talk to other people. But for the most part, I do not. I am not one who just randomly walks up to strangers and go, hey, I got a message for you. And they'll look at me and go away from me. So, you know, I mean, it's not something I normally do, but I have done in the past.
right.
Nice.
I've done it with others when I'm around friends or coworkers or anything else, and something comes through. It seems to mostly happen when someone is talking to me on a show like this or whatever else. Maybe not an investigation show, but something along the lines of I'm doing an interview, and then afterwards we're backstage, we're talking, and they're like, well, I don't even believe in that. And then all of a sudden someone takes that as a challenge. And I'm like, well, there's your dad standing right next to you. He passed, and this is what he looks like, and this is what he wants to say. And that kind of stuff happens a lot, to where it's almost like a challenge, and the spirit's like, oh, you don't? All right, let's dance. So
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Do you have any questions for us?
how long have you guys been doing this? As far as investigating, not doing the show. How far have you guys been investigating?
She started what, August?
I started in August.
Okay.
I've been doing this for 3 years now.
Oh, so about as long as I have.
I had a friend, like, she had a team. She invited me to their investigation. It never left. I was hooked then.
Yeah.
He got
And
hooked.
now,
Yeah.
and now I work with Marcus and his team,
Yep.
and yeah,
Just kind of
I'm
where you're.
also I'm also an empath, so I mean,
And I am an investigator and a soon to be case manager.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So I'm yep. So and part time guest host.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
co-host
Sorry,
every week.
Marcus.
Yeah. So on the advertisement, it shows that I am the owner of the Sixth Sense Investigations, which is the name of our team. But I'm also the Midwest director for the Paranormal Existence Research Society, ran by Bill Slevin out of Florida.
Nice.
We're kind of worldwide, but we kind of go out and do individual homes for people who feel like they have something there. And we'll go out and we'll figure out if there actually is something there, or if it's just something going on with you or something else. And we kind of do that all over the place. So I've been put in charge of Midwest director for that program as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been pretty interesting because we'll all get online and talk together and talk about cases or talk about what's coming up or anything else. And they do a lot of Bill especially does a lot of different conferences. He's been doing this for years upon years, and he's pretty well known. He was actually one of the people in the Devil's Academy about the school that was down in Florida. He's actually one of the speakers on there to talk about the experience and what was going on. So yeah.
Have you ever wanted to travel in the U.S. like in the Midwest area to investigate?
Yeah, there's a lot of places around here that we're going to start going to once we're kind of through a little hump we're going through right now, mostly getting Nikki out of school and everything else. But we have a place south of us. It's not too far. We've actually investigated a couple places down in like the Missouri and Kansas area already, and those have been pretty good. But there's a place that's east of us that we want to go to, and a place that's south of us. And the one east of us is simply they have a landmark for a Native American chief who passed in that area, and that was the lands that they were on. And in the late 1880s, the church went ahead or the Christians went ahead and built a church right on that land, by this marker. So I want to go there to kind of see the interaction that's going on there, and that's not too far away from me. And then down south, there's a place called Seven Sisters Road, and the lore behind it is it's either a father or a son. They haven't identified, but both sides have been said. But they were farmers, and they grew up, and there was 7 sisters, and either the dad or the brother lured each one of them out one night and hanged each one of the sisters from a different tree on top of 7 different hills.
Wow.
So a lot of the action that happens down there that I want to go check out myself is when you drive down that road where it was, it messes with your car, like it actually kills your battery and stuff like that. And if you try to use equipment, it drains the batteries, and then you start hearing the women screech on top of the hills. So yeah, so that's one of the places I want to go to and check out. Yeah, so there's a handful right around me that I'm interested in going to. We just have to get out there and take part in it, and that's going to be interesting because I'm gonna film them all, and come back and see what we got, like you should, and share what we can with people and say, yeah, this is a good place, or we really didn't get anything, or whatever else. But once some of the parts of being an investigator is also debunking as well. You don't go in expecting everything to happen. You gotta be a skeptic first before anything else.
I'm a high debunker.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I pretty much go in as a skeptic. You have to prove it first. Not then I leave it up to, well, what else is there?
Right. Have you ever wanted to come to Minnesota or Wisconsin or Michigan in those areas?
I have. What's funny is we actually one of my old teammates is actually up in Janesville, up in that area. And I was actually. What's funny is I was actually born and raised. I was born and raised in California, but for 4 years of my life, I actually lived in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, on a farm.
Very cool.
Younger.
Nice.
I've been up and around the area, but it's all before I knew what I had.
Right.
Now the time is to start traveling and going to places. Now that I know what I'm doing, kind of,
Right.
Mhm.
know that I actually have abilities that I can tap into things and to see some of those areas from all over. Because I'm for as limited as I have traveled, I have noticed that they all places have their different personalities. They don't all.
Yep.
I mean, they're not just because we're all from the U.S. doesn't mean all of them are going to act like the U.S.
Right.
Right.
So,
Right.
so that's been something to experience as well.
Let's see here. Have you ever have you ever been into Minnesota at all?
I have. Yep. I went through the Minneapolis St. Paul direction quite a few times. It was really
Mhm.
close to Rice Lake, and so we went into there a lot. And then just throughout my travels and stuff like that, I go through there. I work for the government, so I traveled all the bases. So I travel through
Sure.
basically everywhere that they allow me to.
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever investigated in Minnesota or?
Nope. Most of my stuff has been local, except for just a couple of trips I've been on for work. So those are the things I'm wanting to do is reach more out, expand out more. I've basically been to the 3 states around me,
Mhm.
and that's kind of been my hub. But now it's time to start
Broadening,
there.
broadening,
Yeah. Yep.
broadening horizons. Yep.
Now, is
Yep.
there any like major hotspots that you want to investigate across
There's
the
actually,
country?
funny enough, there's actually a couple right down the road from me, and I have not gone. I have not gone to the Amityville house, which is right down the road from me. It's less than an hour away, and I haven't been there yet. And there's just Edinburgh Manor is actually out in Cedar Rapids, out there in Iowa,
Yep.
and I haven't been out there yet. I was supposed to go twice, and both times I didn't go. Once is simply because I had a vision telling me it was not time for me to go yet, and it showed me something very, very bad. So, and it wasn't to me; it was to my wife, and we were both supposed to go. So I said, "No, we're not going." And then the other time we just didn't make it. We had someone get sick, so we just couldn't go.
Ooh.
So we didn't end up going there. But for the most part, there's a handful of places, especially right around us, because we're right in the middle of America. I mean, we can go to Colorado, we can go that direction. We can go up to the Badlands and do some stuff up there as well. It's not that far away from us, and do some of the work. We just have to get the time to do it.
Sure.
Right.
Let's see here. Let's see. I don't know. I know we've done 3 investigations.
Okay.
We've
Yeah.
done
I've
all
done
3 of
more than
them
that.
were actually, huh?
I've done more than 3 cases, but
Well, no, with the team, I mean.
well, yeah.
And all 3 were in Minnesota.
Okay. What about you? You looking to branch out? You going to Wisconsin or?
We are.
We live in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Okay.
we live in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. No, no. I just wasn't sure. But
No.
are you guys going up to Michigan at all, or anything else, or?
End of August. It's not an investigation, but it's the Michigan Paracon that
Oh,
they
yeah.
have up there.
Yep.
So we're going to that. So.
Yep, we're representing the team there.
Yeah, I guess Kansas City's getting ready to put one on. I guess it's going to be a pretty big one, 2025. And I'm trying to see if I can get a booth set up for the Paranormal Existence Research Society team down there and represent them from there. Yep.
Yeah, we have a group of, let's see, 6 or 7 of us at least in our team.
Yeah.
Are any of them just straight up? Basically, what are your roles? I mean, are all of you? Do all of you have abilities, or some of you just sound and the common sense ones, the ones like herding cats to make sure you all stay together?
Well, for me, I'm the tech manager.
Okay.
So I work with all the equipment, cameras, all that kind of stuff. Because I'm tech manager, obviously, so that's my department.
Right.
I'm also I'm also an empath,
Okay.
so yeah, that's new to me as well. So
With me, I just go in there and Marcus gives us instructions. I'm like I'll be a captain of one of our team. Like we split up into groups.
Mm-hmm.
So Marcus is a captain and I'm a captain.
Okay.
So and then so one team goes in one area and my team will go in another area and we'll just set up equipment wherever we need to go, like in a certain room or wherever, and we start from there.
Have you guys ever done the Estes experiment?
no, but I'm looking at wanting to.
I'm interested because if you guys split into teams,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, all of a sudden I'm flipping the host. This is what I'm used to doing.
Uh,
Yep.
you're good.
When you guys break out into teams, it would be interesting to have like the Estes experiment happening in one location, while the other team is listening through, like either through walkie-talkies or anything else, asking the questions, and the team sitting inside the room isn't really asking the questions, but the person in the Estes is sitting in that room. So the questions are coming from a totally different room, and the answers are coming from the other room where the Estes is coming in through. That way, it doesn't contaminate the questions because they're not sitting in the same room, and you guys kind of aren't feeding off each other. They're actually in a totally different room asking the questions. So that's
I had to try that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you talk to Marcus next, ask him, tell him about it and up that idea and see, maybe we can try it.
Yeah, the remote Estes is kind of cool. I've seen it done a couple other times, and it's really interesting to be sitting. Even if a lot of times what will happen is all the team will go into one room, and they'll have something to talk into, and they'll put a speaker in the other room where the person talking is, and they go ahead and the person sitting there has a speaker going, and the other team can hear back what's going on, but they ask the questions from the other room, and the person in a totally different room give the answers what they're receiving. That way, it just does limit stuff. I see him pop in saying that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The message is coming in on the comments. So, yeah. Hey, Marcus. But yeah, and that's just kind of something that I wanted to try out too, because I personally I've seen the Estes done with teams. I've been part of them when they've done them, but I've never been the one to go under. And I don't know what the hesitation is. I think it's because one of my roles I know when I'm at a location is protector. And I kind of don't want to give that up and leave everyone kind of, to where I'm kind of protecting them, kind of guarding.
Right. Yeah.
As long as I know there's other people there that are doing the same thing I am, that I'm going to be game for going under. See what's Marcus, no problem, brother. I'm happy I was able to come on and help. So now I kind of have like a 3-host panel in front of me. So
well, if he has any questions, he can ask if he wants.
Yeah,
can hear me.
yeah. If you have any questions to ask any of us, by all means, go for it.
Is there I'm kind of going to feed back onto your own questions because you guys probably have done this. You've been on 3 investigations, you said, but you've been on a couple other ones. Since you've been doing this for 3 years, you've been doing this for a couple other ones. And I'm interested, is there any place that you've gone to that you're like, nah, I don't want to go back to that place? So,
to be honest, the ones I've been to, I'll go back anytime.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
There's actually 2 specific locations that I'll go back more than the other ones is because I made friends with those spirits.
Oh, nice.
So they talk to me frequently, sometimes even when I'm not there.
Yeah.
So we've actually had one follow me home, and he actually ended up being my spirit guide.
Oh, nice.
So, I mean,
I see that Marcus asked me a question. He said, what makes Nebraska a super haunted state? Marcus, Nebraska is kind of an unknown entity right now. And there's a couple of local places around here, Facebook places or anything else, one's the paranormal, like the Nebraska Paranormal Hub. One's like there's a couple different names out there that are around Nebraska, and I'm reaching out to contact them to find more places around here that are haunted. But it seems like a lot of them in Nebraska are tied to ghost towns, open areas, or cemeteries. There's not really a whole lot of buildings around here outside of something like Fort Stevens or something like that, the Stevens House or something like that. That there's a couple of some of the older places that are in the neighborhood that people have investigated and found stuff out. But for the most part, I think Nebraska is pretty much is known for being haunted for the open areas it has. So you go out to the locations and be comfortable at night in the open and not expect to get all comfy cozy inside of a house tucked up in your cot, but back to your truck or something like that to do the full investigation if you're going to do it overnight. And I've very rarely have I done just a one-day investigation or a couple-hour investigation. Most of mine have all been overnights or over weekends. They've been longer, so they're not just really in and out in 4 hours, unless I'm just going, like I said, for me, across the way to Malvern Manor, which is half an hour away. Then I can go into there and I'll hang out for like 4 hours, hit all 3 floors, say hi to everybody, and visit the outside and then leave. And that's one of those places that have a very different vibe day to night. Daytime, you want to come in, you want to hang out. The guy that runs the place, his name is Josh Hurd. He owns it. You can go into there and you can go all around it, and it's fantastic during the day. But once it switches, no problem, Marcus. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Whole different, more of a heavy vibe. I don't want to say more dangerous, but it's much more heavy. And you can feel it when you're investigating. We actually I wasn't there at the time, but it was someone I was on his team before. When him and his wife and a couple others were there investigating, he's not a small man. He's 6'2", 6'3", well over 300 pounds. And he was sleeping in the cot in one of the rooms, and whatever grabbed his sleeping bag at the end of the cot and actually lifted him completely out of the bed and threw him to the floor in a sleeping bag.
Wow.
He's not a small man, so he's had to face that fear and go back, and he's gone back and stayed the night again, but it took some doing. And there's a lot of places. I will tell people, if you have a location where you can get documentary on that has like names of people who were at that location or died at that location or were frequent at that location or anything else, and you go there and you open that up and you start to read the names out, that's when you'll get a lot of reactions.
Yep.
And as long as you can identify somebody that was there, that possibly passed there, whether it was a peaceful passing, they lived there, they passed away in their sleep, or something horrific happened, God forbid. But if you can identify that person and they're recognized, that they are being recognized and their story is going to be told, a lot of times they will step out and they'll be like, yep, I'm here. This is me. This is who I am. And a lot of times you gain a lot of information of that instead of just going in blind and going, is there anybody here? If you can get tied to the place, that really resonates with spirit. That seems to be a lot more.
Yeah, because like the location I was telling you with the gentleman that followed me home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his daughter was originally the only one that people thought of that haunted there.
Oh.
Well, they didn't know that he was there because there's no record of him dying there or whatnot. My friend Jamie, she did research on the lady's obituary, found her father's name, and he instantly came through and started talking. So
yeah,
it's
like I said, as long as you have a tendency to try to pull a name, or if you can find a name somewhere to that to actually tie to that property, you're not just kind of second guessing, but you can do it. Then they seem to react if they're still there and they want to talk. Because sometimes the story is just wrong, and they want the story to be corrected.
Right.
So that's and as investigators, that's really what our what our goal should be, is to tell the story correctly.
Right.
You know, so that's something that I've come to realize after not only just kind of watching on my own, but watching other teams do what they do.
Yep.
And that's a big thing that I took away from them is one of them has a book that she reads through specifically for Malvern Manor, and it's called The Malvern Manor. It's called something about Malvern Manor, but it's a book just about all the people that stayed there when they were hospitalized, when they were in the insane asylum, whatever else. So when you read through it, you start hearing knocks, or you start hearing voices. If you're using a necromancy machine or whatever else, you start hearing them talk through.
Right.
So yeah.
I know you asked Casey about like the locations that he's been to.
Yeah.
The one, so the one that I would love to go back to again would be the one that we just investigated in November.
Where was that at?
It was
That-
Broadhead Manor. No,
Broadhead.
it was
Boyd.
it was the Boyd House in Minnesota.
The Boyd House.
White House, yeah.
So, because when I got there, well, because I've never, really investigated a house before.
Mm-hmm.
So, the thing is, it was just like, it was interesting of all the history, like of all like the stuff that was there. It was really neat.
Yeah.
And I guess something happened there, and Marcus and I were trying to find answers into what happened.
Yeah.
And nobody spoke.
Yeah.
But he knew what happened, and another person knew what happened, and they told me. And so I was like, we gotta investigate this further to see why it happened, and what possessed them to do this.
Right.
And that's what we were trying to do the next morning, and we couldn't get anything.
Yeah.
So, as a team, there would be like a recap type, like a continuation type
Right.
investigation. And then the other one would be the haunted trail. That was cool.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
one? How did that one work out for you? What made that one so cool?
Well, it was because there was like because it was on a guy's property,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess there was a little girl there that she was a spirit that somehow passed, and I guess every time when I was down in the basement area, I guess Marcus said because we had radios on, and he radioed me. He goes, "Hey Beth, you got to come upstairs." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What the heck? What's going on?" I'm like, "Okay, what did I do now?" Because I was down with all of my team members.
Right.
And he's like, no. He goes, give your radio and your cam to somebody, because I need you upstairs. I'm like, okay. I guess the spirit wanted to talk to me because they mentioned my name.
Yeah, that happens.
And I was like, so I get upstairs, and everybody down in the basement was talking, and it's like, really? And I couldn't get anything.
Yeah. Yeah, that does happen. You'll hear your name every once in a while, and you're like, okay, what? And then they just go radio silent. And you're like, oh, come on.
Yep.
I know I heard
Right.
it. Share it with me.
And we've actually done the Boyd House. We went lights out. We did it in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the places we did when we did home investigations, we did as much in the dark as possible. That's something that and it's interesting because most people want to go dark, or most people want to investigate at night, but not realize that ghosts don't have to sleep, or spirit doesn't have to sleep, so you can investigate during the day too.
Right.
There's a lot of places that don't understand that, but I think it's just for the shock factor or the awe factor. They do it at night, because if you hear a knock in the middle of the day and you can see each other and you're like, okay, that was kind of cool. But if you hear a knock at night and it's completely dark and you're like, okay, please tell me everyone's still here with me and everybody heard that.
Right.
Right.
During the day. So
You believe in the Ouija board at all?
I do. I have not used one. I have seen it used. I do know that my wife has had experience with them. and they were not in the best possible way. So things had went sideways when she was, and it was when she was younger and in school and everything else.
Yep.
They believe they saw a either a doppelganger or a mimic. So that was interesting for them to experience. But again, that's when they were younger, and she hasn't touched one since. And I don't. I'm not against using them, but I have not researched, nor have I asked anybody how to open and close a session on a Ouija board. Because if I'm ever going to use one, it will have to be done meticulously correct. And so that's I'm not afraid of them. I'm not disinterested. I just haven't partaken. So.
Well, last night I was telling one of the guests my experience with them, because my grandparents used to live on a farm.
Yep.
And they had a Ouija board. So all the girls, there was me and my two cousins, and then like some of my other cousins chimed in. So we all sat there and we're like, we had this funny idea. Hey, let's call people from the dead.
Yeah.
Like a seance.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, that's a big no.
So so anyway, like we were asking all these questions and all that, and we put our hand, on the thing, and all of a sudden the thing started to move. I took my hands off and I started running. I'm like, they're like, no, I'm like, is this supposed to do this? Yes. I'm like, that's what I thought, and I took off running to the kitchen, and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. This is just freaking me out.
Yeah.
No.
We put that thing away, and we were like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Nope.
Yeah.
Because we've heard so many different stories of people getting hung out there, like in the barn, and
Oh yeah.
Nope. I would get too many nightmares if I did that again. And of course, I was like 8 years old at that time.
Yeah, but it was effective enough for you to remember. So
yeah. So I never touched one ever since.
Yeah, I've handled them. I'll hold them. I'll handle them. I'll do whatever. But because I'm not using it in any way, shape, or form, I may just simply be carrying it. I don't care. It's only when the intent is to use it is where I will start asking questions about, do you know what you're doing? You know, you've done this before. And most people I work with don't use Ouija boards at all. They just don't. I'm sure there's people that are part of my my PERS team that do out in Florida, but I'm sure they're very well practiced in it. They're very well versed. There's people on that team that have been doing this since they were very little. And so they're very familiar with it. They're very comfortable with it. But that is not something I have decided to entertain at this point.
All right. Well, we have 4 minutes left, and we'll wrap up by saying it was a pleasure having you on our show, and
thank you.
Hope you can come back again when Marcus is around.
Sure, I'd love to.
All three of us will be there to.
Hey, Jason, I want to say hi to Jason too, because he popped in to say hi. So, hey, Jason.
Yeah.
If you want, you can.
I'm usually on the panel when those two are, when him and Casey are hosting the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
and you can add me if you want. I'll tag you in chat.
Yeah, you can add Casey or Marcus to your friends list if you want.
Sure, I'll do that. Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Well, reach out if you need anything. I'll be here.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Have a good night.
See you later.
Have a good one. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.